Good morning, Laker Nation. Happy Monday. How's everybody starting their week off? Pretty good. I am your host, Patrick L. Brown, and this is the forum right here on the GRYD Sports Network. Dare to be different? Step into the GRYD. Your new leaders in digital media, sports, and entertainment. What a disappointing loss that was to the Bulls upon yesterday afternoon, Laker Nation. LeBron returns, but it seemed like this team just fell back into their old ways of doing things. What's next? What's next? What's next? But before we get into any of the Laker topics for today, I just want to say thank you to all those who've been listening to the podcast since we launched it a few weeks ago. It's been a long time coming, but I'm trying to push out as much content as I can and try to keep you all updated on Lakers news as it breaks. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at theform17 and on TikTok at Showtime Lakers 17. So you can find me there on those two social media platforms. Also follow us at GRYD Network on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter for all your content, from reels to clips, shorthand content, however you may receive it. But it's been a few hours since the game ended, and I just got a lot to get off my chest. Let's go ahead and run down our topics from yesterday's game. We've got, let's see here. Go ahead and pull it back up on my account here. Alrighty. Today's episode is just simply called LackADaisical Performance, and I put emphasis on the AD because the episode is centered around AD and his lackluster play that just it's beyond annoying at this point. Optimism going into the final games of the 2023 regular season. Can we win a good chunk of those and still, avoid the play-in tournament? The Western Conference is getting very tight with the free falling of the teams that were above us, mainly the Mavericks, who are just in a complete funk. I'll discuss that a little later in the show. And the road trip that's looming that starts on Wednesday night against this same Chicago team that we played on Sunday afternoon. But first, LeBron returns to play yesterday. He came off the bench. Not too shabby for, his first game back in roughly two and a half weeks. A nice standing ovation and whatnot. We've been playing fairly well without LeBron, but when you have a team that was rolling and little to the imagination, the star player of the team returns, and it just looks like the team that started the 2022-23 regular season. A bunch of misfit toys. Now, I know D-Lo was out with an injury, and why wasn't Rui Hachimura out on the floor yesterday? He had a DNP. I'll say this much. Those 8 or 10 points were missed yesterday from Rui Hachimura. I don't understand what Coach Ham is doing with these lineups. I really don't. I really don't have an answer for it, and I believe that maybe with LeBron coming back, trying to get him reintegrated into the offense and whatnot, but it starts and ends with one player, two initials, AD. LackADaisical performance from AD. Very lackadaisical. Let's run through his numbers, shall we? Anthony Davis yesterday had, let's see here. AD had 15 points with 9 rebounds and 5 assists on 35 minutes. 6 to 8 from the field. and 3 from 6 from the free throw line, and he was in foul trouble most of the game. Ladies and gentlemen, where is AD when you need him? Not to mention, he had an injury scare yesterday, jammed his finger. It's always something with AD. A freak injury, a scare. It's like the wrong place, wrong time for AD, and he gets hurt. Now, I will say, the defense was atrocious yesterday. So bad that as I was listening to the radio broadcast of the Lakers team app, it was a doggone layup clinic. Most of the first half, the Bulls had any open shot they wanted, and they was getting to the rim like it was nothing. AD, you're a top 75 player, and you play like a top 100 player every other game. It gets annoying. It's beyond annoying at this point, AD. As I've said numerous times, I would take Giannis over AD any given night. I know what I'm getting out of Giannis on both ends of the floor. AD is like one night he can give you 37 and 15, and the next day give you a silent 15 and 8, whatever the case may be. Nobody was playing defense yesterday. I think the closest we got into cutting it to single digits, we cut it to 11, and that's it. LeBron James had a fairly decent game, but he's trying to ramp up to get himself ready for the final push. Austin Reeves had an off night. It was bad. And why in the heck was Dennis Schroeder guarding DeRozan? I need somebody to explain that to me. I really do, because Dennis the Menace is a shorter point guard go up against a guard who can create his own shot at any given moment. I mean, credit, DeMar DeRozan is an all-star to an extent, and he was basically getting any shot at will. Zach LaVine was lighting this up too. This is just an overall bad showing by the Los Angeles Lakers, ladies and gentlemen. A very bad performance. Now, credit, the Mavericks are free falling, and the Warriors took a horrible loss to the Timberwolves last night, and off of a courtesy of a Jordan Poole turnover. And the Warriors, the Mavericks, and everybody that's above us is slowly free falling. There's no more room for error. There's no more time to waste. This road trip is very pivotal, Laker Nation. It is very pitiful. And for the most part, I believe we can win some of those games because we have to. It's us against the world. But how bad do they want it? It starts with AD. You're a Laker. You shouldn't need motivation to go out and play every day. I mean, I'm 36 years old with a bad knee, a hamstring, and an ankle, and I would have went out there and put up a better defensive effort than he did, along with the bad shoulder. I would have been out there hustling. I see no sense of urgency with this team. I see no fight in this team. If you know the playoffs were looming, by golly, George, you would be out there trying to win as many games as you can to avoid the play-in tournament. You shouldn't have to flip this proverbial switch. Oh, well, it's Chicago. Yeah, they were coming in hot too, because they've struck fire at the very end. A team that can make the play-in tournament and make a little noise. But even though they're in the Eastern Conference. Lakers, on the other hand, this is it. It's time to get it together and get it going. Like now. I'm tired of coming on my show on this Lakers podcast, and I have to start with a rant about AD. AD, get it together. We need you. We don't need you to be on and off. We need you to be on every night. It gets to a point that whenever someone brings up AD being a top 75 player, I laugh. I really do. I mean, you're 6'11", and you play smaller than what you are. You cannot do this. This is not New Orleans. We are the Lakers. We win championships. We don't care about divisional banners. This is getting worse and worse and beyond annoying with his performances every single night. You're 6'10", 6'11". Start banging down low. Be a defensive anchor. I just wish Mo Bamba was as healthy, because I know Mo Bamba is going to go out there and play his tail off. This team was rolling. Now, just because LeBron come back doesn't mean we start playing like who wants it, who wants it. It's not a two-man game. Basketball is not complicated. Basketball is a simple sport to play. 5 guys knowing their roles. And yesterday it just looked like, well, LeBron's back. Let's let LeBron do it all. Really? AD, you're supposed to be the second co-star on this team. I don't know what's going on with him, but his motor, ladies and gentlemen, is one night it's a V10, and then the next night it's a hybrid battery. You got to charge it up before he can play. I shouldn't have to motivate any grown man who wears a Lakers uniform to play like a Laker. This is not it. We are the Lakers. We hang championships. There's a reason why there's several jersey numbers hanging up in the rafters, and some of the players got statues outside of the crypt. It's annoying. It's annoying that every day I turn on the sports news, the sports talk shows, and that's the first thing they said. What's AD's motor? Is he even motivated to play basketball? He's not a grinder. I don't see him taking the game seriously. It's like, well, Bron's back. I'm going to let Bron do it. Yeah, Bron's been out for 2 weeks. AD, that was your opportunity, and still your opportunity, to showcase why you're the second co-star and that we can put the team on your back to carry us. But we can't rely on you because you're inconsistent. Always down, always disappointment, and LackADaisical. I could go on and on and on and on about AD. But his play on the court, I can't ignore. I can't defend it. Because when you are a top 75 player, you have to play like it. You don't play up or down to the competition. You have to play up because any given night, your opponent can expose you. And trust me, Lakers have been exposed numerous times this season. But it comes down to late game execution, coaching, and what your superstar players can do. AD, get it together. For the sake of the Laker fan base, you need to step up, like right now. Playtime is over. This is pretty much, you're playing for your spot for the next season, because you have 2 years remaining left on this deal and quite a bit of money. And if you don't live up to it, I would not be surprised or shocked when we get to July that the Lakers are trading AD and a first-round pick to Portland to go get Damian Lillard out of that god-awful situation that he's in. I love Dame. I would much rather have had him over Russ, but that's another topic that we'll probably discuss when we get to July, when NBA free agency starts. Moving on to this road trip that's coming up for the Lakers. It'll start Wednesday night in Chicago. This is going to be a very interesting road trip. We've got Chicago on Wednesday night, Minnesota on Friday night, and then we've got Chicago on Wednesday, Minnesota on Friday, and we've got Houston on April the 2nd, Utah April the 4th, and then as a neutral away game at the Crib against the Clippers on April the 5th, with a home game against Phoenix on that Friday night on April the 7th, and we conclude the regular season Sunday, April the 9th against the Utah Jazz. As I sit and I thought about the remaining schedule, we have to win. We have to go 5-2 on these last 7 games. We have to, because there's no room for error. And I know that teams are going to be gunning to give their best shot. And we just have to stay the course. We can't worry about what other teams are doing. We can't. We can't worry about the teams that are falling. We have to control our own destiny and fate at this point. Because nothing is promised or guaranteed in the final games of the regular season. You can try to overlook it, but you can't. I believe that this team still has some fight in them. It starts with AD. The defense has to get better. We need to make adjustments. Coach Ham looks lost most of the time whenever this team starts getting LackADaisical on defense. I mean, there's so many blown defensive assignments, especially when your second best player is out there in foul trouble and he's like walking around with a deer in headlight. He's a deer in headlights. I don't get it. I feel for Coach Ham because I'm sure this is not what he expected going into his first season as a full-time head coach. But when Frank Vogel was a head coach, the defense wasn't the issue. It was the offense. Now, credit some of that at the very end. Everybody points the finger at Vogel, but I want that same energy. I really do. As much as I respect Coach Ham as the Lakers coach, sometimes I think he's head above water in this situation because it's like, okay, teams are making runs. You got to know when to call a timeout to stop the bleeding. I need guys to knock down shots in order to help stop the bleeding as well. If D'Lo and Rui Hachimura had been out there, hey, we would have had a chance in the final in the minutes because the Bulls started to get a little bit of cold at the end. As Laker great Michael Thompson said during the broadcast, Chicago can't keep this up going into the second half. They're eventually going to turn cold. And that would have been a good time to have D'Lo out there and Hachimura, because that's one thing I can say. D'Lo's not afraid of taking shots. That is one of the smoothest left-handed shooters I've seen. I know we've got James Harden, but it just feels like D'Lo is just smooth with it. He would have been out there knocking down threes like it was nothing. But this just goes to show you when key role players are not in the lineup, in the rotation, you get exposed in more ways than one. And it's starting to rear its ugly head that this team is just, they tried to win the game on one possession at a time. Get back on defense, play in your half court sets, get out and run. Don't keep slowing down the pace. They adjust to you. You don't adjust to them. Basketball is a simple sport to play. It is very simple. It's not rocket science, but AD makes it complicated than what it looks. To be his size and to be a generational talent, I question his motivation to play basketball. I really do. I'm sure all of you have asked that same question since 2021. What is his motor? Does he want to be a Laker? Does he want to be in LA? Is the stage too big for him? Is the LA lifestyle catching up with him? Seriously. Certain players can be in LA and succeed, and some big name players come to LA and it's just little to the imagination. As the late Kobe Bryant once said, I shouldn't have to motivate you to be a Laker. The name speaks for itself. And Kobe was right. This is the biggest stage in basketball outside of MSG in New York City. We are the Lakers. We are not the Clippers. We are not the Sacramento Kings. We are none of those teams that play in the Western Conference. The Lakers are the Lakers. No, I don't care how many players come through that organization. I want guys that want to win just as much as you do. I want guys who are going to sacrifice in order for the betterment of the team. Sacrifice shots in order to be key components on defense. In order to be consistent role players night in and night out. That's the kind of Laker team I want. Rob Pelinka, as much criticism as we've given him, he sort of saved his job at the NBA trade deadline by getting out from Russ and going out and getting Malik Beasley, Hachimura, a couple of other players, D'Lo, Jarrett Vanderbilt, and Mo Bamba. I just wish Mo Bamba was healthy, because I think that gives us another defensive presence down low that can go down there and get rebounds. Him and Jarrett Vanderbilt are rebounding machines. If AD wants to play away from the basket, so be it. Because if you play him down low, he gets hurt. It's like wrong place, wrong time, and he's got some freak injury. But nevertheless, I just hope that our Lakers can get it together, because this is getting away from us rather quick. As we move on to the final optimism for Los Angeles Lakers. How many of y'all feel that this team can avoid the play-in tournament? I just want to throw that out there, because right now it's not looking too promising. But I will say that with everything that's happening in the NBA, especially in the Western Conference, it's every man for himself. We're going to run down through the rankings so far, and we're going to go to the Western Conference. Denver and Memphis have already clinched a playoff spot. Sacramento is 3. Phoenix is 4. Clippers are 5th. Warriors are 6th. Minnesota 7th. New Orleans 8th. Our Lakers 9th. And Oklahoma City 10th. Now, a win over the Minnesota Timberwolves on Friday night will at least give us a little bit of cushion, but we've got to take care of business in Chicago. The Western Conference right now, from 4th all the way down to 10th, is basically 2.5 games. 2.5 games. We were on a 3-game winning streak, and it was snapped. Another missed opportunity to move up the standings in the Western Conference. It's going to go down to the finish in the Western Conference on the final day of the regular season. It's going to be ugly. I kid you not. Because the teams that have already clinched, by the time they get to, another few days, they're going to start resting their starters to get ready for the playoffs. There's no time for us to rest players right now. We've got to cover ground. It seemed like we cover ground and then we go backwards. You take 2 steps forward, take 1 big step back. And that loss just feels like 2 or 3 games altogether. So the 3 games that you were winning, that 1 loss feels like another 3-4 game losing streak. That's what it feels like to me. I still believe that this team can get there. They have to believe in one another. They have to turn off the noise and just play ball. Play Laker basketball. I don't need to motivate grown men to be Lakers. Go out and play. Playtime is over, as I said a few minutes ago. It's playoffs or bust for this team. And I understand that if missing the playoffs for the 2nd straight season, it's another stain on LeBron James. Because everyone will say, well, if we would have, traded Russ at the start of the season, we would have been better off. Well, I got news for you. Russ stayed around 1 year too long. And when they finally realized and done it and got rid of Russ, there was still a glimmer of hope. He went to the Clippers. The downfall of the Clippers is coming. I don't wish any ill will on a player who gets hurt. But Paul George being out for the Clippers was a blow to the Clippers. They still got Kawhi Leonard and Russell Westbrook and some role players. But I believe the Clippers aren't going very far without Paul George. I know Lakers, you probably don't hear me talk about the Clippers, but I'm not going to sit here and wish ill will on a player from another team in order for my team to get to the postseason. I'm not going to do that. because you want to be at full strength going into the playoffs and beating your team with their best players on the court. That's what it feels like to me. That's how I've always approached the game of basketball. When I sit and watch, when I can, I want to beat the good teams with their best players on the floor. Because without their best players, you kind of feel like, okay, it's a 50-50 game because it could go either way. Just ask Phoenix right now. They've been up and down a little bit without Kevin Durant. Are they still a title contender? That's yet to be seen. Denver is probably the best team in the conference, but they've been on a reel. They've been reeling here as of late. The Memphis Grizzlies, is Ja going to be ready to go for the postseason? Because I know he's been dealing with some issues away from the court, but I'll discuss that on my other podcast on Chaotic. You're more than welcome to go check that out on the grid as well. The Western Conference is wide open. You look at the Eastern Conference, 3 teams: Milwaukee, Boston, Philadelphia, and then the rest of the field. The Western Conference, it's pick and choose. Take your pick, because it's only a 2.5 game difference between 4th place and 10th place. That's how tight it is. This is the most competitive I've seen the Western Conference for as far as I can remember. Because usually it's 1 or 2 teams that's already got 55 wins, and they're just coasting through the regular season to get ready for the postseason. Nevertheless, it's time. It's time to quit jucking and jiving and play some Laker basketball. Impose your will. Don't leave any room for your opponent to get back in the game. When everybody's locked in and focused, great things happen. But when we start getting lackadaisical and falling asleep and wait until the second half to show up, the game could be out of reach. Seriously. I believe that if Coach Ham struggles down the stretch, has these last few games and the start of the 2024 season, I believe there will be a coaching change. I honestly do. And I know how difficult that it is for black coaches in any sport, whether it be NFL or NBA, to get head coaching jobs. It's a very difficult process. We need guys to hold each other accountable. We need the leaders to be leaders. LeBron is the leader. AD's the co-leader. But AD sometimes is a role player. One night he can be an all-star, superstar player. The next night he's a role player. I need consistency from AD from here on out. I need him to go out and get me 30 and 15. I need him to have those monster games. I need him to be locked in and focused on the defensive side of the floor. LeBron's going to do all he can. But LeBron is 38 years old. He cannot carry a team anymore. Credit, Father Time is catching up with him. But at the end of the day, there's only one player on that team that matters. LeBron James. The face of the franchise. The face of the NBA. If he misses the playoffs again, it's not going to set well with him. Because everybody knows the commitment level that he puts into his body. Everything that he does in the offseason. Around the clock treatment. He does everything he can. He's a grinder to be available for his team every night. But when you have a co-star that has no desire to be in the gym, he'd rather play video games and eat Ruffles potato chips and not touch a basketball until right before training camp starts. Great players don't take seasons off. Did Kobe Bryant ever take an off season? Seriously? Did you ever see him take off during the off season? Kobe Bryant had the same regiment from the time he hit his prime all the way up to the very last season of his illustrious career. Kobe Bryant wanted it. Even at his advanced stage, when the injuries caught up with him, he was still doing everything that he implemented in himself. Regardless of what the situation is, you have to be available and reliable for your team. If you have an injury, that's one thing. But when you have one bad game, one good game, and then you're just all over the place. It's difficult for me to find a rotation that works for this team. When AD goes to the bench, I said this the week before last, the second unit is a lot smoother when the ball is constantly moving and everybody on defense has to account for the Lakers' rotations that is on the court at that particular moment. I don't know when D'Lo's coming back, but hopefully soon, because we need him. And hopefully Rui Hachimura somehow gets his way back into the lineup. Because if I were the Lakers head coach, I would say, look, this is now or never. How bad do y'all want it? I want to go to the postseason. The NBA ratings are in a good place when the Lakers are in the postseason. When LeBron James is in the postseason. When LeBron's not in the postseason, it feels kind of bland. Credit, you've got Giannis and Embiid, you got Jokic and all the other players around the league, but it just doesn't feel the same when LeBron James is not playing in a meaningful playoff game. It feels very strange. And I believe he's done realized that, okay, I had to make sure that I'm at full strength. I give everything I have, and I put everything I can in my body to get back on the court. AD, I need you to be that guy. I need you. I don't need you once every 3 games. I need you every game. You are here for a reason. I brought you here for a reason. I got you out of New Orleans so you could play for championships every year. But if you cannot do that, we may have to end this partnership. And it would be a mutual decision, be a business decision. If someone were to ask LeBron, well, we're thinking about, trading AD and that last first round pick to go get Damian Lillard. What do you think about that, LeBron? Dame Lillard and Bron on the same court together? Sign me up. Now the question is, I don't know if Dame has a no trade clause in his new contract, but it would make sense for the Lakers to make that trade. Now whether Portland takes on AD, but if I had to give up D'Lo, so be it, to sweeten the deal. I want to win a championship as much as any Laker fan in the world, because 2020 just feels like a decade ago. It really does. We've been in the playoffs 2020 and 2021. And it's like the last year in 2022, we missed the playoffs. And it just feels like, okay, you've got arguably the top 5 player in the league, and there's a possibility he can miss the postseason for the second straight year in LA. That weighs on LeBron year in and year out. He went to LA to extend his legacy, to implement his legacy. He's already a first ballot Hall of Famer. The play for the Lakers is the standard. He went there for a reason. He delivered a championship. But it just feels like that window is going to close here for long. Because LeBron next year will be year 21. Year 21. The guy is still playing at an elite level. And then the father time is catching up with him. So my fellow Laker fans, there's optimism. Don't lose hope. Keep the faith. Do whatever you can to still support this team to the very end. I'm not giving up on the Lakers. The media can say all they want to say, but at the end of the day, we are the Lakers. You can't refute that. You can't deny it. But, everybody's entitled to the opinion, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles. That's all of the time that we have today for the forum right here on the GRYD Sports Network. Please make sure you subscribe, share, and comment for the GRYD. You can follow us on all the social media platforms as mentioned: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, and even subscribe to the YouTube channel. Have a great rest of your week. I will see you all hopefully on the next installment of the forum. I greatly appreciate you all taking time out of your schedules to listen today. And before I get up out of here, make sure that you take care of your physical, mental, intimate, and emotional health. Take care of your well-being. Make sure your mentals are in a safe space. If you need help with your mental health, please seek therapy. Seek treatments. You don't have to fight this battle alone. As you start to listen to my show and get to know me as a podcaster, mental health is very important to me. And I don't say that just to be saying that. I mean that with all my heart. So, that is all the time we have for today. Like I said, thank you for taking time to listen to the show. Be sure to keep it right here on the GRYD Sports Network for all episodes of the forum, along with my other teammates on the GRYD. Be sure to check out their content as well. We've got a little bit of everything going on right now. I know that the NFL draft is right around the corner, so we've got some NFL podcasters on there. We've got baseball season is starting this week, so we've got the baseball podcaster underway with several podcasters in the network. And also my show, The Forum, and Chaotic Sports on the GRYD. I'm pushing out as much content as I can to keep everybody updated. So bear with me as I work through this next few days. I'm on spring break, but I still have to, work a full-time job. So I'll try to get as much content out as possible and do all I can to make sure that Laker Nation, you are aware of what's going on and with our team. That's all for today. I'm out of here. Have a great week. Stay safe. Most importantly, tell someone you love them if you haven't told them today. This is Patrick L. Brown, and I'm out of here for today. And we're going to end it right there. So, y'all be safe. Take care. And I'll see y'all next time around. God bless.